You are now listening to Awaken You with Shelly Bond. Welcome to my show where we explore ourselves. We talk about growth, healing, breath, life, yoga, failures and successes, intuition, inspiration, fears, manifestation, books, writing, motivation, food, parenting, inner child work, mindfulness. What are your thoughts? My love for healing with energy work, learning how to love myself, forgive myself, and know my own self-worth. I have a deep well inside to hold space and connect with women. And I have learned that awakening is for us all, especially for those of us who think that it's not. Waking up to our life's flaws and all is possible because, my friends, life is a practice. It's not a perfect. Hello, my lovely sisters. Welcome to a brand new episode of Awaken You. I'm just having one of those days where I feel like everyone is annoying the shit out of me. Do you ever get those days? I usually feel like it's the week before my period and I can't control my emotions. And lately, my kids have been so needy. I feel like for a while they've been really independent, but just recently I almost feel like they're reverting back to toddlerhood and I don't understand it. And part of me questions if it's because they're with me all the time. And I will always remember this from my girlfriend who said, how lucky are we that our kids feel so comfortable that they can melt down with us? Because I know when I was a little girl and when she was a little girl, that we would hold everything in because we were afraid of our parents. So I have to remind myself in those moments, in these days, where it's freaking hard, where it's a struggle to get my kids to stay on task. And some days when we're doing our homeschool, it flows and everyone is just like on task and focused and getting through. But it's like 50% of the time, one, if not two, if not all three of them are just like can't keep their focus. Like every morning, we start with our gratefuls. And Jack, my almost 8-year-old, he's going to be 8 on Sunday. I can't even believe that. He cannot keep focused. His focus is shit lately. And I really am thinking that I have been letting them watch way too much TV, especially on the weekends. I'm like, oh, it's fine. Watch whatever you want. And I remember back from our Waldorf school and one of the teachers just saying like how hard it is for them to break down and process all of the information and say they're watching like 2 or 3 or 4 shows a night or 1 or 2 movies and their brain is just like like trying to break that down. And it's so funny because of course I threatened that I was taking away TV at nighttime, and then night rolls around and I'm exhausted and I'm like, sure, have your screen time. So it's this balance, this like dichotomy of like wanting to allow them to have screen time and then others feeling like it's not helping them, it's not serving them. And I know even with myself, I get super caught up sometimes in watching shows. I actually just finished Made, and I think it was on Netflix. It could have been Amazon, but it was a book, a memoir that was broken down into 10 episodes. And I got creepy like 3 Sundays ago and I binged watched it for like 4 or 5 hours. And then I found myself, the first thing I thought of in the morning was that I wanted to watch that show. And so I know myself and I get really obsessive and like about things. So I made myself not watch it. I had to just like take a cold turkey break. And then it just drug out and I didn't watch it for a week. And then that felt good. And I kind of just like lost that, like, I need to watch this. And then it actually happened that we had friends in town and I didn't watch it again for another week. And I only had 2 episodes left. So I took a 2-week break and it felt so good to not be so overconsumed by the show. And I'm noticing this in my kids too. It's like when we watch something all of the time, we just crave it. We want it because the shows, the producers, the people, they know what they're doing. They get us intrigued and hooked and making us want it to come back for more. And I know that we all sometimes just want to check out and go into the life of someone else. But I have learned for myself that I have to disconnect from TV. And I'm not like a watcher all the time because when I was a kid, I had no boundaries with screens. I could watch whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I think starting at like 12 or 13, I could watch rated R movies. So I had no filter. I would stay up. My sister was making fun of me because I used to watch USA Up All Night with Rhonda Shear, and then there was the annoying one with Gilbert Godfrey, where they would play these awful movies on the weekend, and they would be from like midnight to 2 and then 2 to 4, and I would stay up and watch these horrible movies and watch so much that when I started on my journey of like growing and my spiritual awakening, I noticed my unhealthy habits with TV and movies and screens. And I again just started cold turkey. I have this personality where I can be like off or on. And I was just like, I'm off. I'm turning that off. And so instead of watching TV with my husband, I would go into my office at the time, which I missed that office. I loved that office. This was a house that I lived across the street from my sisters. There was my 2 sisters across the street and 4 houses over with their combined 6, 7, 8, 9 kids with mine. And I would just read or journal, or if I felt called, I would listen to a book or a TED Talk or something of the sort. And then I realized that I was being, again, this control freak that I tend to be because that's just something that happens sometimes with me. And I softened, and then I have allowed myself to watch shows here and there or watch movies. And I think what I've learned for myself, and that I'm learning again through my children, right? Because I think I'm always learning and growing. I've not just like arrived, is that flexibility in our lives is key, that we have to allow ourselves permission to be human, do the human things, watch the shows sometimes, watch the movies, and sometimes disconnect and just be with the people around you. Because I noticed this in my own freaking house. We had company over for like 4 days, and I found my kids, Milo in one room on his screen, Junie in my bathtub. She loves not with water, but in a dry bathtub, sitting there watching her own screen, and then Jack in the basement. 3 different freaking screens. Like, that's too much. And then there's times where my husband will tune in, or we will, in the living room, and we're watching 4 different screens. And I know my husband gives me shit for always trying to control things like this, but come fucking on, people. Like, really? Do all 4 of us need to be in our own 4 separate places? Like, I think that there is a time and a place for screens, and hello, this happens to me, but those are the times when I like will go around and say, shut off your screen, Junie, shut off Milo, shut off Jack. Like, come on, let's all just at least be in one space and watch one thing together, because there's like so much disconnection happening. And right, it's like, what can we learn from this? And like, I know that there are times where that just happens and I have to let it go. But also, I get to choose the amount of screen time that my kids get, and same for me. because I know even me, I get really up on like listening to a book, or if I want to learn something new, I will just devour everything that I can about that topic. And then my screen time will go way up. And right, it's the world we live in. Or like I've been recording my book, or I'm on here recording my podcast, and I spent a lot of time on technology because that's my reality of what I do for a living. Right, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I'm also selling malas. I'm creating a community online. I have a YouTube channel. I have a podcast. I have these platforms that the only way I can connect is through the internet. Thank you, internet, for all of your amazingness, but also just bringing awareness back to like what is it that really matters in our lives. And I don't think at the end of my life I'm going to remember all of the movies I watched and all of my screen time. It's just coming back to like disconnecting from our devices to connect with the people around us. And I know I get so caught up in it. Like on the weekends, usually I take my weekends as time to do my work and write or edit or record my book or podcast or whatever. And my husband will take the kids on adventures. And I'm usually better in the summer because I definitely turn more into a hermit in the winter. But spring is here off and on in the mountains. And this weekend, instead of hermiting out, I decided to go for an actual hike with my husband and my daughter. And it was so amazing. I got out of the house in fresh air, and it was cold, it was hot, it was hard, it was easy. I was breathing heavily, I was panting, I was sweating, and it felt so amazing to disconnect, and even from my house, because also along those lines, I get so stuck up. I'm at home with the kids and we're homeschooling, and then the house gets trashed every day. Inevitably, I don't know how people keep it so organized. I'm very organized too. Every day I have to do a major clean. Otherwise, I get huge anger rushes and just like flashes of anxiety and overwhelm from a messy house. Because if you've read my book, Awaken You, there's a whole chapter on cleaning your house. And I really believe that a messy mind equals a messy house. And right, that happens on some days. But we get so trapped, especially in the winters, at just being home. And then usually like 2 or 3 in the afternoon hits. And I just get kind of cranky and like cabin fever, like, get me out of here. Like, I love my kids, but I need a fucking break from them. I need some space to be a better mom. So I usually do what I'm doing now and escape into my little space for myself. And then my kids get into some trouble outside. They make another giant mess. They pour paint all over the freaking road or whatever they're doing. The other day, they were throwing eggs at each other. I'm in here recording and they're throwing eggs at each other. But I am grateful that my kids are at an age where sometimes they can be independent and I don't have to be watching their every move. And if you are a mama who has toddlers or babies, I am sending you love because I have been there with a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and a newborn baby. I freaking know. And even in moments now, 12-year-old, 10-year-old, Jack almost 8-year-old. Oh, I can't believe crazy, my baby. And I feel like they are so needy and they need something. And especially doing school, it's someone needs something. And then the other person, and I'm jumping hop, up, 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 back and forth. And I'm like stretched so thin. And I will say, mamas, that it is essential, 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 essential that we take time for ourselves, that we have to take time away from our kids or we turn into mean moms. I mean, maybe you are a mom or you know a mom who just functions really well around her kids all the time. And if that is the case, I send you love and I think you're amazing. For me, I'm not like that. I need to have a space. And so I have been a founding member of a women's group for like 4 years. And I once a month get together with my trio. There's three of us soul sisters, and we get together for 4 hours once a month to replenish, recharge. No kids are allowed. No kids. And it's so wonderful. We do yoga, we meditate, we write or journal. Sometimes we've crafted or done art. We read to each other. It's just like this sacred, amazing space. And this last weekend on Saturday, I had the intention to just go over to one of my girlfriend's house when her kids were away at their dad's. And we were just going to do yoga. And I ended up spending 4 hours over there. And it was so nice because my husband took the boys for a hike and we just like chatted. And then it was so amazing because we did an hour long, maybe an hour and a half long yoga practice. And then we incorporated meditation. And I have been so interested in sound healing with crystal bowls. And if you haven't seen these, they're like these gorgeous crystal chakra bowls. And they are for all 7 chakras. And it starts out like the smallest one is for the top of the head, the crown chakra. And then it goes all of the sizes that rush up to the root chakra, which is the largest singing bowl. And my soul sister has had these beautiful crystal bowls that, of course, just collect dust. She is a single mama, stay at home mama who's going to school online and just doing all of the things. But we dusted those off, and she did a sound healing bath on me. And then I intuitively, just like a magical download, did a sound healing bath on her. And it was so amazing. It was just like light and freeing. And the whole premise between healing with sound vibration is it breaks up like this external chatter. It breaks up all of the shit that we're holding on to, and it energetically shifts. It changes like your cells. You can feel a noticeable difference in how you're feeling. And it was really amazing because that afternoon I had to take my son, not had to, I got to take him to a sleepover. And I was trying to explain to my son's friend's mama and then her girlfriend. And I just said, it takes your worries away. And the other woman's wife looked at me and like squinted her eyes like, it takes all of your worries away, like very skeptical. And then I said, okay, I don't think it takes all of your worries, but it makes you feel a significant shift, a significant, speak Shelly, difference. And these are the things, right? It's like we're feeling overloaded by life. We're feeling overworked. We're feeling overstressed. And stress is something that is just constantly happening for us. It's constantly around us. And I know sometimes I have these days where, God, the stress just like builds up. And I practice yoga and I meditate at least 5 days a week. I move my body and still it comes. So, with the help of taking time to do like healing practices for ourselves, by taking time to get away from our kids, away from our families, so we can reboot and recharge. Like, think of our phone. We have to plug it in at the end of the night to recharge itself, right? Otherwise, the battery is going to freaking die. And then sometimes my phone will take up to like 15 minutes to charge because it was so drained. And think of us as the same mamas, that if we are draining ourselves, our energy, our batteries every day, that we are going to be cranky, angry, frustrated, overwhelmed. Anxiety is going to be skyrocketing. And we must take time to decompress. And whatever that is for you. I know many mamas who like to just go for a walk by themselves, or go to a park and sit on a bench. Probably not a park if you don't have your kids. Like, go out in nature, maybe go for a freaking hike and sit there and read a book by yourself. Or just sit there in silence and feel the breeze, feel the sun, listen to the birds. Just be in silence, which can be hard. I know that those practices of trying to sit with ourselves can be like nearly impossible. But the possible, the impossible is possible with action. So I just recommend like take time for yourself and whatever that means. And even if it's after you put your kids to bed at night and everyone is finally sleeping soundly, you freaking draw a bath for yourself with a cup of your favorite hot tea. You put on some relaxing instrumental music or your favorite calming, soothing music. I like to light a little candle. I get these lovely candles from this woman who makes them with all really amazing ingredients, and they're made out of essential oils and they just smell fresh and lovely. And I usually put them at the opposite end of where the shower curtain is and just smell the smells and relax. And instead of jumping on the screen and watching someone else's life, getting all of their feelings, like taking time for myself. And my husband, I feel like more and more is understanding this because he works full time and he likes to stay up later. And I like to creep into my room about 45 minutes before I want to go to bed. And I like to take that time to journal, to listen to affirmations, to just be by myself in my room, in my bed, no screens. If I'm listening to affirmations, I play them in my bathroom and I open the door, or I'll do a meditation. But it's so I have found that I love that time. Like, I love the time after I get my kids to bed. It's kind of just like, and it happens every night. And sometimes my kids won't go to bed until it's like my bedtime. And that is frustrating. And those nights, I am a way more cranky, grumpy pants. And so I've just realized that I just have to get my kids into their rooms earlier. And the older they get, the more they fight it or they want to stay up and do things. And I just have to tell them, like, you can stay in your room and listen to your meditation. I'll turn a meditation on, or you can read a book and I turn the lights off and like they have a Himalayan lamp. Like, you can be in there, but you have to be in there and put yourself to bed then, because I will do all the things. And yeah, it's essential, essential. I think sometimes I say essential. It's very interesting. Have you ever thought of how you say words? I never really thought of the way I pronounce words or my weird tics with like S's when I get nervous. But recording my book and even being on this podcast is making me so aware of my weird syncrasies. I don't even know how to say that word, but it's funny listening to yourself and hearing your voice versus how we think it is. It's very strange. It's very interesting. It's really this practice of being mindful with myself, being mindful of when I'm feeling really confident and amazing, or when I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I have no idea what I'm saying. Or sometimes while reading my audiobook, I share some very vulnerable stories in my book, Awaken You. And it is hard, my sisters. Sometimes I'm like, I have to like pump myself up and like just shake out my hands and like wiggle out my shoulders. And I have these pictures over here to my right of like my sisters and my soul sisters. And I remind myself that I'm reading my book to my sisters, and it helps me soften because it's so interesting. This inner critic that likes to come in tells us all of the weird things we're doing or not doing. But I am just here showing up through it all. And I'm just keeping authentic to myself and my journey. And there's days where I feel like, woo, I have got this, like this whole homeschooling, this whole having my own business. And I'm switching because I keep saying this subconscious thought of that my business is this, yes, yes, yeah, the S's, come on, Shelly, S's, that my business is this small thing. And I started changing that to my big, expansive business because I don't have to stay small, right? Being small is my choice, or growing and expanding is another thing. And I've been on this like inner turmoil, like second guessing and wondering. And I do meditations and I am manifesting, and I will feel like I am again like on top of it, like I am crushing it, like reaching out, connecting with women, selling these malas, or I'm feeling like stagnant and no one is reaching out to me, or my Etsy shop is crickets. But this is something that I am learning, is that I'm not going to give up on myself. Like, I've learned this a long time ago. I used to always give up on everything I would do the second I felt like it was failing. And just like anything, there are highs and lows and talking, Shelly, and like those mediocre moments where it just feels static and boring and nothing is happening. Like writing my book, that I have to go with the waves of inspiration. I have to keep persevering because writing my book, editing my book, making malas, reaching out to women. And right now, what I'm doing for my book is I am reaching out and doing the marketing faceting, which I am breaking through my self limiting beliefs. And I actually am excited. I reached out to libraries and I'm marketing my book for that in bookstores, local bookstores. And some of them don't accept a self-published book if it's from Amazon, which is kind of shitty. But I have to know that there is a purpose, and I have to let go of my need to have everything happen exactly the way I want it to. Because I think that we can have these intentions to grow and to reach and connect with people, and intentions, right, to have prosperity and abundance, because it's like I'm offering this lovely, amazing book that to me is like a multi-million dollar plethora of information of all of these self-help tools and stories, and just pouring my heart out. And I know that that has value and worth, and that value and worth starts here. And when I put it out and I share, it is incredible. And I don't know if I shared on the last episode, but my sisters surprised me with my old book club and got together, and we did my very first book club of Awaken You. And it was so incredible. There was 9, 10, 11. There was 9 women and then 2 teenage girls who showed up. And I can't even explain to you like the amount of love and support for women in that space. It was just like a dream come true, because I've had this dream of having my book in a book club, and I actually got to be a part of it. And I got to see and hear and listen to conversations of like how it impacted them, and just like the feedback was, oh, just makes me want to bawl my eyes out. And knowing that the work that I'm doing, that the years upon years it took to create and get this book out there was worth it. And this is just one of those opportunities, again, to remind myself that you don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. One question, actually, my sister asked me during the book club was, why didn't you quit? Why didn't you just give up? Because that's something I always did. And I think my sisters and I have that tendency to just, meh, when things aren't going well, just give up and try something new. I had this like burning desire, which I remember many years ago. I heard someone say that they had this burning desire, and I kind of was like annoyed at that, thinking, I don't even know what that means. And like, you're a creep. But I feel it. It's like the butterflies living and expanding and just like flowing around. And it's the feelings I get when I am in those inspired moments where I'm just like a mad scientist, just like writing and writing and writing, or when I'm creating, or I'm doing like a healing session, like I with my girlfriend, and we were doing this sound bath healing. I can't even describe it. Like healing with crystals. Like I've been researching and learning all of these amazing, deeper properties of crystals. And even I'm expanding and growing and learning about more healing crystals. And it's just like you have to pay attention to how you feel when you're doing certain things. Like if you're feeling good and like lit up on the inside and you don't want to stop that thing, like that is your thing. And you have to know that it doesn't have to stop at one thing, because I am a Gemini. I'm very multifaceted. Like yoga lights me up, meditation, connecting with women, writing, making malas, but it all just like circles around, and it just is like this package of everything because they're all like intercorrelated. And I feel like I just have to keep answering the callings. And again, it's like when that inner voice comes in and tells me to just stop and quit, I don't. I heard this a long time ago from somebody to help keep us accountable. So imagine if you stop doing your burning desire or your like dream thing or whatever it is. Like if you wanted to run a marathon or a triathlon, if you didn't do that, you would be letting down someone very important to you. And for me, I think of my daughter. And I'm not going to let her down. I want to show her the example of what it is to have a dream and for her to see all the messy, horrible steps in the middle and then seeing me succeed like she has seen with my book. Like she actually watched me work for weeks upon weeks and years upon years where I had to let housework, I had to like let my kids fend for themselves and talk about screen overload. I just had to surrender and allow that to get my book done because there was no other way. But I did it, and she watched me, and my boys too. They watch me and they just know because now I haven't been working on my book, but they are always like, Mom, I know you got to go work on your book. And even though I'm not working on my book, it's something else. But they just know that I have to take this time to do these things that I feel called to do, or make a yoga class or a meditation. Like they just know. And I feel like that is showing them way more than me hollering at them, telling them to be like this or do this. They're learning from my example. It's this quote that's been like tattooed in my mind that our children learn more from the person we are than what we teach them, really. And these are the moments when in homeschooling, I have to remind myself again of that, opposed to being like the tyrant of get your math done now, get your reading done now. I'm learning flexibility, even though it's hard. I'm learning, I'm showing up. Well, my beautiful sisters, I'm so grateful for you and just showing up. And it's just, I love this space. I actually was just telling my son Milo that I love coming in here. I'm in my freaking closet, in my recording space with like my pictures, and I have some Murties and my crystals sitting on my bolsters. And this lights me up. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like, like I'm talking into a microphone, but I know this message is going to spiderweb and go out to all of the women who need it. I know. I trust. I trust that the universe is sending these signals. It's like those feelings I was telling you about, like noticing how you feel when you do certain things. Like, do you feel good and amazing? If you're scrolling through Facebook and you're feeling like shit, turn that shit off. Or if it feels good when you post a lovely post and maybe give a little advice to your people, like that feels good. Notice that. Notice the things. Notice how it feels like if you go for a walk one day and then you don't the next. Notice how it feels when you are intentional with waking up and then taking time maybe to breathe, to start that gratitude practice, or like I talked about many episodes ago about writing your dream life. Like, what would you be doing? Where would you be? What would those things be like? Where are you going? What are you wearing? All of the things. If you haven't listened to that episode, I'm trying to think back to which one. I think I've said it in the last couple too, but that practice really helps jumpstart you into where you want to go, because sometimes we feel so stuck and we feel like we're drowning, and it can be hard to even think that there's a brighter day or something better for us out there. But with our thoughts, we create our reality. We can create the person we want to be, my beautiful sisters. And every episode, I have been offering a self care practice inspired from my book, Awaken You. And today's self care practice, which I've said a lot of times, and I don't know if you have been listening and following through, because it's one thing to listen and it's another thing to follow through, because we already know the things we need to do, right? We know what's healthy for our bodies. We know that working out makes us feel better in our mind, our body, and our emotions, but sometimes life happens and we forget about ourselves. We might somehow start being aware that we can choose the thoughts that we're thinking, but we kind of feel stuck with what's happening inside. We might know that we get to choose our relationships with other people. We can choose to make boundaries and say, hey, you're overstepping your boundaries. Like, no, thank you. These are my kids. I love you. Blah, blah, blah. Move along, right? We may know all of these things. We may know that breath work and meditation can help us find more calm, help us find like space between anxiety and overwhelm. But we might in those moments feel few and far away from being able to breathe or think a grateful thought. So my self-care offering today is a simple breath practice. It is a simple tuning in. So wherever you are, whatever you are doing, just join me. If you're driving in a car, you can do this with your eyes wide open and focus forward. If you are, however, available to take a seat real quick, close your eyes. I encourage you, but be mindful in your doing, even if your kids are around. Wiggle in your sit bones, close your eyes, and take a deep, expansive breath that comes down the throat into the lungs, expanding at the ribs, in through a melted jaw. Let it deflate. So we're going to bring this next breath all the way down low into the belly. Breathe it in. Melt the jaw. I encourage you, my sisters, to know that breath is one of your most powerful forces, and you can use your breath at any point of your day. So we're going to try this again. If you can hear me, I want you to be able to hear yourself. So imagining like it's a cold day and you want to that's that that heated breath. So bring that into your belly, draw it in. Now let it go. Press it out. So on the inhale, almost inhale, raise your shoulders up. Exhale, press it out. Beautiful work. And I would recommend doing this breath practice 11 times. 11 has always been this magical number for me. It's really settling. So you can also find a number that resonates. And at any part of your day or night, or if you're struggling to fall asleep or first thing in the morning, start with your breath. When you're going pee in the morning, your breath is with you, sister. You breathe it in, exhale it out. If you're feeling a little insecure, your husband or wife or your kids or your spouse, whoever's going to hear you, close the door, lock it, turn that freaking fan on. and let your breath be expansive. I know in the early stages, when I first started practicing yoga, I was very embarrassed of my breath. I was very judgmental of myself. And I encourage you to know again, your breath is one of your most powerful forces, and to use it with intention and to use it all of the time when you are struggling or even when you just know that you need it, because it has been proven that our breath helps calm us down. It helps reduce stress and tension. It helps soften anxiety. And this is amazing. It helps dwindle some of those 50 to 70,000 thoughts that are racing and chasing and running rampant in the mind. So when you're feeling like that, oh my God, I can't get focused, you walk in your kitchen and it's a bomb because your kids or whatever. Breathe that breath, realign, and come from a calmer perspective, right? It's all about perspective and like how we are perceiving the situation. And this is something so powerful that all of our problems, most of our problems, are the illusions of the mind, that we're creating the stress in our lives from how we're choosing to respond and react. So if we can choose to use our breath, we can have a more grounded perspective. And then maybe, just maybe, our breath practice can bring us into reevaluating the situation and showing up better than when we would have when we're feeling all of that. Okay. I love you, my beautiful sisters. Please leave a 5-star rating and a review. It means the universe to me, and it helps me share this to the world because that's my goal, to reach as many women like me, like you, sisters. I want to create this sisterhood community. Meet me on Facebook, Shelly Bond, Instagram, Awaken You, Shelly. It's not Shelly Lovely, Shelly Bond, ShellYBond. I also have my own lovely, not Pinterest, Shelly, Etsy shop at Awaken You Malas, where I am sharing my beautiful love for healing with crystals with you. And so head over there if you're wanting some new energy that you can wear that can help you heal on deeper levels. I love you. Thank you for supporting me. I just am forever grateful. And also my book that is on Amazon, you just put in Awaken You, Shelly Bond. And if you're holding out, the Audible book is in the making. I think we're on chapter 5 of my editing from my editor, and I am recording, get this, bum ba da bum, I'm on chapter 21. It just shows if you just keep showing up and plugging in over time. I'm at week 7. It's taken me 7 weeks to record this book, but it is almost done. Perseverance and action, my sisters. I love you. I freaking love you. And remember, you bring your breath, my sister. You use your breath. It is your most powerful force. I love you.